What's up, Taiwan? Good morning. I got your hot coffee right here. I'm Leslie Liao with 10 minutes of news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Now, we're dedicating today's show to the story of a 97-year-old man who was born in China and traveled to Taiwan in one of the most tumultuous periods in the nation's history. It's a TaiwanPlus original and one that requires a little bit of background. Let's start by rewinding to the end of the Second World War. As Ed Moon reports, Taiwan had become home to hundreds of thousands of soldiers from China who had experienced nearly a decade of war with both Japan and the Chinese communists.
When World War II began, Taiwan was a colony of Japan. It then came under the rule of the Republic of China after the war, when the Chinese government accepted the Japanese surrender on the island on behalf of the Allies. Not long after the war's end, hostilities resumed between the Republic of China government, led by the Kuomintang and Chiang Kai-shek, and the Chinese Communist Party, led by Mao Zedong. After a string of defeats culminating in the communist capture of the capital in Nanjing, Chiang Kai-shek retreated with his government to Taiwan. Also making the journey were around 1 million refugees, many of whom were soldiers.
枪在我们的肩上，血在我们的胸膛。
枪在我们的肩膀，血在我们的胸膛。
A lifetime of service, and a witness to some of the 20th century's most tumultuous moments.
我的名字是魏仲康，我今年97岁，出生于四川成都华阳县。
Wei Chung-kang has dedicated his life to the Republic of China. So much so that he insisted on wearing an old army uniform to meet us at his home, a retirement village for veterans located in Jianghua County, central Taiwan. Wei joined the Republic of China Armed Forces when he was only 17 and has been a loyal soldier ever since, retreating along with Chiang Kai-shek and the Kuomintang government from China to Taiwan after the Chinese Civil War. But he didn't volunteer for the job.
我加入军队那个时候是晚上强迫把我抓去的。那个时候到云南，加入部队是54军。
Wei found himself thrust into one of the Second World War's bloodiest conflicts, a battle between China, on the Allied side, and Japan. He took part in the Salween campaign, which saw more than 40,000 Chinese troops cooperate with US forces to attack the Japanese in Burma and reopen vital Allied supply lanes. While Wei remembers the Japanese as ferocious fighters, he bears no hatred towards the former enemy.
战后对日本人的感觉也没有什么了。当时两边对付的时候是你死我活，可是现在大家都和平了嘛，平时要认识都是好朋友，哪成了敌人呢？
The Japanese surrender in 1945 brought a long-awaited peace for many countries. But for Wei, the battles were just beginning. Before the year was out, he was fighting Chinese Communist Party forces under the leadership of Mao Zedong in a recommencement of a decades-long civil war between the Communists and Kuomintang. Wei remembers war against the Communists as being completely different to the battle against Japan.
跟日本人打仗啊，那个是日本人是凶悍，他是训练过的兵，打仗不一样。而中共的兵呢，他先用民兵来攻击你，这些没有训练的来攻击你，你的子弹咚的，差不多快打光了。
He was captured by Mao's forces, and his experience during the Civil War left him with a lasting distrust of the Chinese communists.
对老百姓，共产党他都是欺骗，都是不讲实话。那个时候的共产党更比现在最坏的。
After escaping from the communists, Wei arrived in Taiwan in 1948, one of over 1 million people evacuated to the island at the end of the Civil War. In 1949, Mao Zedong declared the establishment of the People's Republic of China, leaving the Republic of China government in charge of only Taiwan and a few outlying islands. Wei has never returned since that day. Now his family are the caregivers at a veterans home, and his friends here in Taiwan.
在我的家人呐，我现在都不记得了。我在台湾，我都没有给大陆写过半封信，我没有回过大陆。
It has been well over half a century since Wei set sail for Taiwan. In that time, Taiwan has undergone tremendous changes, from one-party rule to vibrant democracy, and with it has come a flourishing of an independent Taiwan identity separate from China. But Wei hopes the future generations will hold on to their Chinese heritage.
台湾这个是本来是好地方，也不冷，也不热，过去的是台湾人，也是台湾人，也是中国人，可是不是共产党人就行了。
There are but a few members of Wei's generation remaining, and for many, the horrors of war have faded. But as tensions across the Taiwan Strait rise once more, Wei has a message to share.
我一生中都在和中共、和日本都在战争、都在枪林弹雨中混过。可是你们后面的人要以和平，不要为战争，要以和为贵。
下沉沉人的决心，发扬中华民族之荣光。
Ricky and Ed Moon for TaiwanPlus.
Soldiers and others who came to Taiwan from China after World War II are often known as Mainlanders in English, a reference to their origins in mainland China. To find out more about their history, TaiwanPlus's Ed Moon spoke to Dominic Meng-Hsuan Yang, an associate professor at the University of Missouri, whose research focuses on the Mainlander experience in Taiwan. He began by asking him what life was like for those who fled China for Taiwan after the Chinese Civil War.
If you want me to put it in one word, the word will be it will be complicated, because there's really a lot of complexity in how actually different groups of people ended up in Taiwan. Of course, in the first stage, you have ones that had money, had connections, and has the means to get to Taiwan. At the very bottom, you do have hundreds of thousands of conscripts. These are usually, people from the countryside. They were, peasants, usually very young, for people of peasant background, conscripted into the war, or more often than not, towards the end of the war, being held at gunpoint, being really literally kidnapped by nationalist army passing through their region, and sometimes on their way to Taiwan and basically try to replenish the ranks, right? When they got to Taiwan, they were not only looked down by the mainlander elites, they were also looked down by the local Taiwanese population.
And how does identity play out now in Taiwan? Do mainlanders and their descendants still think of themselves as Chinese?
If you ask another scholar or mainlander themselves, you get different answers. They're first and foremost Taiwanese, and they're definitely Chinese. But when you ask most of them about, their national identity, their national identity is definitely with Taiwan or with the Republic of China. And the history that the version of Chinese history that they identify with is the version of history promoted by the Republic of China on Taiwan.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. I'm Leslie Liao. Finally, we leave you with something entirely different. We'll leave you with images of an Algerian artist who creates striking pieces of art from spare car parts. Now, I think I see my muffler in there somewhere. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. See you next time, and take care.